sir. How are you feeling?
How do you think?
Things still need to be done. Business as usual, as far as I know.
Everyone we've spoken to is basically that everyone's job is gone.
Well, that's not what we've been told in finance.
It's very mysterious. People just walk around not sure what's happening. Some people are wrapping up all their belongings. Some people are spending all their credit on their canteen cards.
I think there are many possibilities, but there are a lot of people in Lehman fired today, a lot of people in Merrill Lynch probably fired in a couple of hours or days, I don't know.
14 years ago, many of us were only about 4 or 5 years old. Some of us were in preschool, running around in the classroom, or worrying about what cartoon we'd want to watch that day. However, 14 years ago, many Americans, including our parents, were worried about what was going on in the news. Worrying about the economy, whatever this Fed was, their mortgages, words that seem so complicated that we really couldn't understand at the time. Now, 2 years ago, we were old enough to also watch the news about this ongoing crisis that was spreading all over the world, and we were worried if our lives would be in danger and the very nature of what was coming and our futures. While we could reminisce on what happened on a national scale, let's take a look at more personal focus stories of what happened. There's no better way to get personal stories about the 2008 financial crisis than our parents. Let's ask them what happened to them and the nation 14 years ago and how they managed to cope or go through it all. And let's see if there's any similarities between 14 years ago in 2008 and right now in COVID.
My situation financially before the 2008 financial crisis was I was a single parent just coming through a divorce. I had 2 boys in private school, and I was raising them by myself and responsible for most of their financial support. I had to really watch my money. It was pretty scary not knowing exactly whether I had support or a partner that I could share some of those challenges with.
My name is Mayor Grace Darrow. I'm a social worker of Napa County Health and Human Services. I was working as a social worker, a full-time social worker with Napa County Health and Human Services before the recession happened in 2008.
I noticed the economy was going into a recession about a year before in 2007. I was watching news reports on CNN and different news outlets, and they were talking about massive foreclosures and people were losing their homes, and a lot of people had overestimated their income and had over leveraged themselves into financial debt. A lot of people lost their homes, lost their cars, because before 2007, a lot of people were taking vacations and buying expensive cars and not understanding that the bubble would burst and they couldn't be able to afford the things that they were purchasing. And the market started to go down. And that was the time that I realized that I had to do something to protect or insulate myself.
Down 1.7% here, a loss of 37 points or so. Apple shares are just getting hammered this morning.
We're down by between 3 and 4.5% generally across these markets. Let's talk about the speed with which we are watching this market deteriorate. We're red everywhere, essentially, down by 4-5%.
We're down over 16%. Dow at the same time has fallen about 18%.
I was very concerned because I noticed that if change been happening to people that were well off before the recession. I was afraid that would happen to me and my family as well. I was afraid of losing my job. I was afraid that there would be a layoff because I was working in a government agency. So day by day, I was scared, and I had open ears, and I was, looking out, planning ahead, thinking of what to do in case it happened to me and my family get affected.
Because we're now down 43%.
What in the world is happening on Wall Street?
Two-year note yields went from 190 to 166 in the blink of an eye.
On the NASDAQ, everything and more has been completely wiped out.
It was the worst day on Wall Street since the crash of 1987.
From the financial capital of the world, the opening bell is going to ring in 5 seconds, and to be honest with you, we wish it wouldn't.
In the beginning of the recession of 2008, it really affected me emotionally, not knowing exactly how much money you would need to get through or ride this process. But it turns out that I had budgeted, really conservatively, so we made it through the process and worried about necessities like paying the electricity, paying the mortgage and stuff like that. And we actually rode through the process pretty well.
I was, I started feeling the effects of it when my landlord, because I was renting at the time, when my landlord started asking for an increase in our rent. And from that, I started feeling like I had to find another job, but there was no other jobs out there that could help my financial situation.
China has identified the cause of the mysterious new virus. Coronavirus.
George, we are looking at another day of extreme volatility. Stocks opened just moments ago with the Dow down more than 600 points. And this week alone, stocks have now wiped out nearly $3.5 trillion in value. This morning, stocks in the midst of their worst week since the financial crisis. The Dow plunging more than 3,200 points in just 4 days. After hitting record highs just last week, stocks are now down nearly 11%.
There are fears of rapidly spreading virus as well in Australia.
This is a rapidly emerging situation. $112,000 dropped by more than
COVID-19 has been harder on the economy because the swings of the stock market, then the supply chains have been all jammed up, and it's hard to get the stuff you need. People were hoarding water, they were hoarding toilet paper, and there was runs on a lot of the stores, and there was limited amount of product on the shelves. So I think that was a lot more difficult than the 2008 stock market.
In my experience, the 2008 recession was harder than the COVID-19. I'm fortunate enough that I'm able to keep my job during the COVID-19 pandemic. And so the 2008 recession was, I based on my experience, was harder than the COVID-19 pandemic. It wasn't as much the financial, it was more the health and losing a family member or loved ones.
These experiences have taught me that you need to really have a plan. You need to keep your savings at least a year and a half of your salary in the bank. That allows you to withstand any changes in your financial situation. You'll still be able to provide for your family and then work through a situation that's very difficult and very tough.
My advice is for them to get ready, financially ready, save some money, always set aside for something for the future, for something that you don't know that's going to happen. Do not spend your money on anything that is unnecessary. Very sad to say this, but I was one of those fortunate ones that purchased a house that was underwater. Without the recession, I don't think I would be able to purchase a house. I'm a single mom, considering the income that I'm getting every month. So without the recession, I would not be able to purchase a house.
These were just some of the few stories out of millions of Americans who experienced two of the worst economic crises the world had ever experienced. One of them was lack of oversight between government authorities and private entities. The other, due to trying to reduce the impact of a much bigger crisis. Both of them having varying degrees of recovery. To experience these kinds of worries and hardships only about a decade apart, and for some of us, we're still experiencing them now. As we look forward into the future, we must tread carefully into the unknown. It is likely that similar crises will happen. So while it is good to prepare for what's coming, we must also strive to prevent them from happening in the first place, using the knowledge we gained from the past. It is how we grow. For whatever else comes, it may be caused by flaws in the systems we have created for ourselves, or by the self-interests of a few individuals who found power in those systems.
Russia's offensive tonight is growing more indiscriminate and destructive, raining down on Ukrainian towns and cities.
Evaluating Vladimir Putin's state of mind a top priority now.
The Russian leader could be completely off his rocker.
무작정になった診察ゲーム